All right, we're back for another movie review. What are we doing this time, Faizel?
We are doing Angel Heart from 1980. What is the year? I
Seven?
should have known this. 1987.
Ah, lucky guess. Now, it was based on a book called Fallen Angel, which I didn't even know it was based on a book until a few podcasts ago when you told me. So I went and I read the book and then I rewatched the movie, and now we can discuss.
Real quickly then, because I am curious what your thoughts on the book are now that you've finished the book and you've read it.
I really liked it. It was pretty close to the movie. There was some significant changes that we can talk about. But yeah, I liked it. I think probably the seems weird, but I think the coolest part of the book was like the preface, that first page where it had that letter from the 1600s with all the demon signatures on it,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
which I'm assuming was fake, which is most likely. But yeah, that was kind of cool. It had like Beelzebub and Lucifer and all the seven demons or whatever were had their signatures on it, and it was you can look it up on Wikipedia to want to know
Pretty
what it's all
cool.
about. So yeah, but yeah, the book it was great. I think. But like a lot of the times, the book is way better than the movie. But this one, I felt that the movie did as best as they could with it. I'd say the book's a little bit better, just because you get into it, the story more.
Yeah, but I mean, to make a book, to make the book as faithful, like the movie 100% faithful, you'd have to have like a 3 hour movie or something. And like,
Yeah, there was just so many. It's kind of one of those things too, where like I watched the movie and we're like 5 minutes into the movie, but it's like this was like a quarter of the way through the book. Like so
yep,
much happened in the book, and then that's like the opening credits of the movie. Like they just whip through everything because
I
that's the
really
point of a
like
movie. They have to.
I really like the way the book is written. Like I like the way the phrases that the author uses and stuff. Like that was one of my favorite things when I read it. Amongst like again the other things like in the movie they don't really get into it as deep, but in the book they do. Like she has a whole book list that she gives to what's his face to read. And those books are real books. And if you look them up, a lot of those books are occulty books. So there's a lot of those like little nods in the book that aren't in the movie of like this is where you would go if you want to find out occult shit. But the movie is like, man, it's something else. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's very well done. The one major change is that in the movie they move like most of it takes place, or a huge chunk of it takes place in Louisiana.
Yes.
Whereas in the book, it's all in New York City. And then I read, and apparently it was the author of the book who's the one that suggested to the director that they move the story down there.
Oh, really? Just because it would be more scenic there?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, must have been his reason. Or maybe in hindsight, the author was like, oh shit, there's a lot of like the Louisiana is kind of a better place for the voodoo kind of part of the
Dirty, it's
story.
hot.
Another thing I find weird about the book versus the movie is in the book, it's like a big chunk of it is all like voodoo, but then it
Mhm.
gets into like pure Satanism. Like at the end, it's like satanic ritual. They're like sacrificing a baby and some other horrible things that they couldn't even, there's no way they could have filmed. In the movie, other than the devil Lucifer character, it's all voodoo. They pretty much drop the Satanism angle.
Well, because it's one of those things it's Hollywood shorthand, I think, of like voodoo is the same thing as Satanism. It's like evil magic. Whereas in the book, it's way more nuanced about that because it even teaches you. This is where I first learned about all the things that teaches you in the book about voodoo, like the veves and the that kind of shit. I keep wanting to say vuvuzelas, and that's highly disrespectful. But like the names of the demons, Papa Dembala and all that, these are actual things. It's as good information as you can get anywhere else from that book. Whereas in the movie, they take that little creative license and they're like, no, no, all of this is bad.
Yeah, I wonder if it seems kind of in the book that like Johnny Favorite, the
Hmm.
person that the detective character is trying to find, seems like Johnny Favorite. He kind of like went down like a rabbit hole. So it's kind of like yeah, voodoo. It's like yeah, there's some pretty evil side to that if you kind of sink down enough. But he kept going further and further till it was like pure like Satanism. So it just seemed like kind of like it was each step where like there's like it was the good voodoo, which is it may seem weird, but it's not evil, but there is
Hmm.
the evil side to it because they were killing each other and stuff too. But it kept going and going until like at the end when it was like this is really fucked up. Like they're full on satanic blood rituals and stuff.
Yeah, we do voodoo where we like worship our own gods. Those guys worship Satan. Should we get into the plot? Because it's legitimately one of my favorite plots in all of like fiction. One of my favorite plots of all time. I can't even begin to stress how much I love this plot.
Yeah, do
Um,
it.
So we opened with our protagonist. Wow, already I've forgotten his name in the
Harry
book.
Angel.
Harry Angel. He's played by Mickey Rourke, peak Mickey Rourke, I would say. And he's hired by a mysterious benefactor called Louis Cyphre. I love the way he's described in the book. He was like buffered by banknotes his whole life and like that kind of thing. And honestly, the way Robert De Niro plays him is so close to how he's described in the book. I love it. I like
It said he was like thinner and he had like he was French and he had a like a wax mustache.
yeah, and whereas Robert De Niro has the full beard, but like
Yeah.
those nails are such an amazing little touch that he has in there. He clearly thought about his character a lot. And so they meet and he hires him to find this old forgotten lost singer called Johnny Favorite. And he's like, "Oh, we got some unfinished business. You skipped out on the contract for me. So can you find me this Johnny Favorite?" And over the course of trying to find Johnny Favorite, who is rumored to be dead, he finds Johnny's old lover, Margaret, who is an oh, how does Lisa Bonet come into the whole thing? I forget. She was also supposed to be his daughter, right? He ends up
Yeah.
down in Louisiana trying to track down more about Johnny Favorite, and he finds an old lover, and he finds that the daughter of this old lover is Lisa Bonet, who, did you know this is what got her kicked off the Cosby Show?
Oh, really? Yeah. I read something that she apparently asked Bill Cosby, like didn't ask his permission, but it's like, would you
And
be
he was like,
comfortable
"No
if I did this?
sex," which
And
is hilarious when you think about what Bill Cosby was accused of
yeah,
there.
in hindsight, that story takes on a different meaning, but
But anyway, so he meets Lisa Bonet and he gets introduced to the world of voodoo. He goes back to New York and he learns that Johnny Favorite's ex-lover was a black witch, not like a black woman, but like she was involved in black magic. And her dad is involved in even worse black magic. And then he tracks down the hospital where Johnny Favorite last was reported, and he learns that a young woman and an older man came and took him away. And this all leads into the end twist. Spoiler alert. You find out that Harry Angel is in fact Johnny Favorite. He signed a contract with the devil to become a famous singer, and then it was coming time to pay for pay his soul. He basically grabbed a shell-shocked World War II vet and then like swapped souls with them so that his soul was in Harry Angel's body and Harry Angel's soul was in Johnny Favorite's body. Ostensibly, the devil comes to collect Johnny Favorite, leaves Harry Angel alone. Unfortunately, Harry Angel suffers amnesia because he got hit by I forget what the accident. He suffers an accident. He
like an
forgets who he is.
artillery shell in World War II.
Yes. And so he forgets who he is and he comes back from World War II and he essentially is just Harry Angel now. He's a detective. And then we find out, and then all his memories come back at the end. I really like the way they did in the book. The book is one of my favorites, where he lights a cigarette and he starts singing the tune, and he's like, one of my best, really. I wish I had a camera when I was reading that book as a kid, because like you would have seen me be like, oh, because like they keep it close to the chest right up until he like lights that cigarette and he starts singing the tune. He's like, it was one of my best. Anyways, back to the thing, and he finds out that Lisa Bonet's been murdered and that he's now going to be implicated for the murder. But also, the devil knows where he's at and knows that he's going to have to collect on him.
Yeah, it's a really cool story. And I think we started talking about this when we were reviewing Lord of Illusions, because
Oh
there
yeah,
are
yeah,
similarities there, and it's that Harry Damour from Lord of Illusions versus Harry Angel from Angel Heart. Very
yes.
similar, that kind of rough, drunken, bachelor detective who, lives in a shitty apartment and, chain smokes. Like it's that kind of
Drinks old
character.
coffee and chain smokes and like I think Mickey Rourke plays him slightly differently because he's still like kind of a scumbag, but like a charming scumbag.
Yeah, and one thing about Mickey Rourke, like, yeah, it was a very good acting job, but if you compare the way he looks in that to like his more modern day look,
Oh
like
my
in the wrestler,
God.
you can't even tell it's the same guy. Like that,
Well, it's because he decided he wanted to go be a boxer and got his face beat in, and then he did a bunch of plastic surgery because
yeah.
he have you ever seen his boxing record? It's terrible. He's never won a fight. I don't think he's won a single fight. So in the mid 80s, when he was on top of the world, when he was in every movie, he was basically a sex symbol in the 80s. He then decides that what's the manliest thing he can do is he's going to go and be a professional boxer because that's what he's gotten into. So they went and he went up against like he did the Jake Paul thing essentially. He went and but he actually fought real established boxers and he got his face beat in. And so then he like came back to acting, but he had to get a bunch of, I'm sure body dysmorphia plays a role in all of this, but he got a bunch of extensive plastic surgery. So he looks like he looks now through and a combination of drug abuse and alcoholism as well. But like first time I saw Mickey Rourke was in The Expendables. And that was just like he looked like garbage. And I'm sure they made him look even more like garbage for the movie. And then years later, a couple of years later, I saw Angel Heart. And I was just like, wait a minute. That's Mickey Rourke? It's like that guy's hot. What is this guy?
Yeah, it's almost like he was living the Angel Heart story. Because in Angel Heart, he got disfigured in the war, so that's why they didn't recognize his face because he had
Yep,
some sort of reconstructive surgery. He had a different face. So it's like
you're
almost like
right.
that
You're
happened to him
right.
in real life because it's like he has a different face. One criticism I kind of have about the book is I think they were too heavy-handed with the metaphor or the allegory because it's like, oh, like Harry Angel and
Yeah,
then
fair enough.
Louis
Louis
Cyphre
Cyphre. And
and
like
then
what was his other alias in the book when he was like
the magician guy.
the Arab magician guy?
Oh, I can't remember. Oh, yeah, it was something similar to, yeah.
But it was like Louis Cyphre but Arabic, and I was just like, all right, dude, if you're not getting this so far, then like
But also like the address of where Harry Angel meets him at the beginning is 666 something street. It's
yeah.
like, hey, that's way too obvious. Like, this kind of reminds me in the the cheesy 60s Batman movie when they're
Yep.
they're trying to find out like who rented the submarine and it's like P.N. Gwyn and it's like, come on,
Who
like
could that be?
it's like if you're gonna do crimes, don't hint at your real name while doing the crime. Just pick a different name. But ignoring that, it's like it was a really cool story, and I like how yeah, like the movie it basically touched on all the main beats of it, but then it moved the rest of the story down to Louisiana, and then it dropped like the satanic ritual stuff, and then the ending was kind of a bit different. For the most part, they I think they stayed true to the book. I don't think
They
like
did.
fans of the book would be disappointed that they changed some elements.
They did. I think the one thing I would like, and it's not even a criticism. It's basically I think they dumbed it down a little bit. But like I said, that's like from the book to the movie. But that's just the process of filmmaking into making it a more palatable story. They like obviously you can't have the baby killing, you can't have this, you can't have that, and you then turn into a more palatable story. But I think in that turning it into a palatable story, it lost some of its subversiveness that was in the book. I feel like it went in this weird paperback novel that had homages to like occultism and old pulp fiction and like old neo-noir films. And it came out more this blockbuster summer popcorn movie. Do you know what I mean? And it still has elements of that stuff, but it's still like made to be slightly palatable. But I got no complaints from the movie personally.
Yeah, I can see like a lot of other like a lot of other movies based on books. It's like, the fans of the books hate it. Like they change it too much. Whereas this one, it's like they tried their best. Like I think people would be
They really did a
satisfied.
good adaptation of it, I
Yeah.
think. As far as like a film made in the studio system with like of the moment stars and like who directed this? I forgot. Oh no, I'm thinking of someone else. No, he's done a bunch of things. Mississippi Burning, we talked about this
Ah,
last
yes,
time.
yes, yeah.
Which is such a good film. I think they did as good of it made in the studio system. That's very interesting that his next film was Mississippi Burning. Now that I think about it, like it's just clicking in my head. Like that's a subversive film in a way, but it's also set in the heat and dirt and sweat of Mississippi, which is kind of where this is, and
Yeah,
it touches on racial tensions, which again, Angel Heart does touch a little bit on on
there
racial
are
tension.
similar like Mississippi Burning's, it's more of a true story, more serious subject matter, but they are there's similar like themes in them.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That'd be an interesting double feature.
Yeah, and it's weird too because I remember I thought this movie came out in the 90s because I remember I think it was in high school. My buddy was like, "Oh, this movie Angel Heart's so good." I thought it was new. So I rented it on video and watched it. I thought it was new, but apparently it was quite old at that time. But I didn't like it that much. I was like, "Meh, like it's okay." I've seen it like maybe once or twice since then. I was never a big fan of it until I read the book just, a couple weeks ago and then watched it again. And I was like, okay, now that I have this new way of looking at it and kind of reevaluate it, it's like I like it a lot more now that I've had a chance to read the book.
Interesting. What do you think changed in your perspective of the thing after having read the book that you
I just
like it
think
a
like
little bit?
seeing that extra layer to it, because like in the movie, like they would have like some plot point, and it'd be like 20 seconds. It'd be something would happen, whereas in the book it would be like two chapters explaining all about what that was about.
Right. They
And in
they
the
really go.
movie, it's like they just brush over. They just brush over like half the book, where it's like, oh, there's so much detail into what
I
was
love
going
how much
on,
they
and
talk about the carnies in the book and how they like introduce and set up the carnies. It's one of my favorite like bits in the book. Whereas in the
yeah,
movie, they just kind of quickly like gloss over them and they just show
yeah, they
up.
gloss over, like, yeah, they just gloss over so much. Because I get it, because the movie can't be 4 hours long. But now that I know that it's like, oh, there is more depth to this, and when I watch it, it's like, oh, okay, now I see like there's more.
Where they were coming from and what they were going for. And yeah, like we said, I think they nailed it. I personally, to me, this is. I mean, it's tough for me to give this a grade per se because this for me is so tied up in my own like artistic inspiration. It's like asking me to be critical of Scarface. I
Uh,
can't. That movie I saw it first. It's what inspired me to become like involved in film. That movie to me, it'll be a 10 because it's what started that fire. And it's the same with Angel Heart. Like Angel Heart and Falling Angel, more specifically, really like inspired me to write an entire script and like put as much intent, like we were just talking about putting intent into something and like put as much intent into the script as William Horsterberg put into his book, which is funny that we're talking about with Griffin, we were talking about making a horror film that nobody's seen. I did it. I made one.
I've seen it.
There's a select club of people. But like it really made put that intent into me into like writing that script and producing this film because it just inspired me so much. So for me, this will always be a 10.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a say 7.5. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty respectable. I really love Robert De Niro as the devil. When I was
Oh
reading the
man.
book, I was like, I'm just going to imagine Robert De Niro as the guy.
That egg scene is amazing. That egg scene is intimidating and weird and freaky and like meant like it's just everything you need in a scene.
And I read too somewhere that apparently like they couldn't pay Robert De Niro like what he wanted for the movie. So he made him
Oh,
a deal that he's like, I'll do it, but I'll only do three scenes and I get to be sitting the whole time. He's not going to stand or move. So
I
every
didn't know
scene,
that.
that's why he's just like sitting in a chair in all
The
the
whole
scenes he's
time.
in.
Yeah, now that you think about it, I don't think I see him stay. We don't see him stand up at all through
Yeah,
this whole thing.
he doesn't move. He just sits in a chair.
That's kind of amazing. I would love to be in that kind of position where you're like, yeah, you can't afford me, but I'll tell you what,
I
make it as easy as possible for me, and I'll still take a lucrative paycheck.
wonder if he walked into the room to sit down, or if they just like wheeled him in because he
He's
refused to
just
even
like, I
stand up.
refuse. Once I enter onto set, there better be a wheelchair. My legs, you're not paying for them. You're paying for the top half. This part acts. This part sleeps.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better portrayals of the devil that I've seen in
I
movies.
would
There's been
agree.
like there's been they ran the entire gamut of different portrayals over the years in different movies, but it's one of the better ones.
It's so sinister because it's never said he's the devil. They're so clever. Besides the Louis Cyphre part, they're so clever about just hinting at it enough for the audience to get it, but not because I think it's cringy if a character just comes out and says, "I am evil," or I took a lot of thought and care in writing how my character in Give and Take finds out that the contract he signs is an evil contract because you can't just have him sign the thing and be like, now you're owned by the devil, you're evil. Like I learned from that movie, it's way more sinister and way more like scarier if you just hint at the thing and just let people fill it in and like leave it a little bit like ambiguous and put some stuff like it's yeah.
And that's one thing I didn't like. They left it a bit more ambiguous in the book.
Yep.
But in the movie at the end, Mickey Rourke says like Lucifer, and I wish they
Oh
hadn't done
yeah, he does. You're
it's like,
right.
come on, it's like we figured that out the first time you said Lewis Cypher, you
Just
know?
don't say it. Just be like, I like in the book. He's like, you know my name. I've been around. It's the Rolling Stones song. I hope you know my name.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hope you
yeah.
guess my name or whatever the fuck it was.
The book it got kind of weird because yeah, like he first meets Lewis Cypher and he's like kind of like a French guy with a weird he's like a
Hmm.
French banker kind of guy with a weird
But
mustache. But then later on, yeah, he's like some Arab guy,
he's
kind
an
of like
Arab
a turban,
magician, but
and
I
then
think that was supposed to be in like a fever dream too, right?
yeah, but it's like he takes on different appearance. Then later he's like a magician guy doing some like illusionist tricks. So it just seems
Right.
like he takes on whether it's in Harry Angel's mind or not. He takes on like these different personas, these different appearances. I kind of like it better in the movie where he's just like a guy, a scary looking guy. You know, he
That's
doesn't like
fair.
he doesn't become different races and stuff. You know, he's just
I
kind of
do
like
like to think of it as him following Harry Angel around the whole time and like because like I just we just assume that the devil knows that this is Johnny Favorite. I just got to make him know that he's Johnny Favorite so I can collect on my debt. So
yeah,
like because I mean someone strangled what's his face Toots and put the I forget that that's yes they was it in the book that they put his genitals in his mouth?
yeah.
Then they didn't show that in the
Yeah,
movie. I
that would
wonder
be a pretty
why.
horrible thing to show.
You know what? That's also in The Godfather 1, The Godfather book.
I've read it. I
When
don't remember that part.
Michael goes back to Italy, and that's an old mafia way of killing them. If you like commit adultery, they put the genitals in the mouth and they're like,
I've read it before. There's a Stephen King book that has that in there. Like it is a thing that you know.
human beings are weird, man.
Yeah,
We'll figure out some weird things.
but it's weird because like the book is more like even like the opening pages is about those. They're like biblical Christian demons. So the movie is more about Satanism. The book is more about Satanism, whereas the movie is all voodoo. Like
Well, I think there's a thing I've always wondered. There's a movie I watched a while back called Fear Street. Do you ever see Fear Street? It's really good.
no,
It's on Netflix. It's like based on the guy who wrote Goosebumps. He also wrote like young adult fiction called Fear Street. It's like young adult horror. And they have this ritual where they're gonna like pick the magic berry and they're gonna eat the berry and then they're gonna get high and then yay, they're gonna have trips. And I'm like, why would you make it a weird berry? Why would you not make it a mushroom? Or like in Once Upon a Time in America, where she gives him the cigarette that's dipped in acid and he smokes it, but that's not how that works. You burn the chemical, and so not you don't get any effects from it. You have to ingest the chemical in order to get effects from it. But I always wonder if that's specifically so that you can't repeat it. Like, so they're showing drug use, but they're not showing explicit drug use where they show you exactly how to use it. They're just showing you a guy smoking a cigarette, and if you tried to dip a cigarette in acid and smoke it, you just have a terrible cigarette. I wonder if that's the same in this movie where they're not. I feel like the book endorses voodoo and endorses occultism and then points out Satanism as this unfortunate aspect of occultism, but like heavily endorses occultism. And I think in the mainstream Hollywood film landscape, you can't make a film that endorses occultism and endorses voodoo. You have to make a film that's like, if there's voodoo in it, then it's the evil guys who primarily use voodoo, but then you have the good voodoo guys, but it's all bad voodoo. You know what I mean?
yeah, that could be because it was. I mean, like the book was written. Was it like 79 or something like that? It was written, or
Yeah, it was written quite early-ish. Now I gotta look it up, but like I think you're on there 79.
but even like the movie was 87, so that would have been kind of during the Satanic Panic era. So they might have
Yes.
just been
78,
hesitant.
you were 1 year off.
70, yeah, they might have been hesitant to have a movie about blatant Satanism. Like,
Exactly. You want less than 10 moms picketing outside of your
yeah.
cinema. If
So
you
I
have
guess
more than that, then it's a problem.
they had that fine line. 'Cause, well, they wanted to be like a scary horror movie, but they maybe there was a line they couldn't cross. But yeah, the thing like in the book, like that end part with the satanic ritual, it's like yeah, they like slice a baby's throat and they sexually assault like a young girl, like, things that
Yes.
you could not ever show in a movie.
No, not ever.
So maybe they were like, well, what's the point of having a satanic ritual if we can't actually depict them doing the evil things? So they maybe just like let's just stick to the
Push it
voodoo
over.
because then they have like butchering chickens and other kind of horrible things, but they don't have to go that far.
No, but overall, I'd say I'd stick by my 10 for this movie. I loved it. I loved every aspect of it.
Yeah, and it definitely grew on me. So maybe if you watch it, someone watches it and it doesn't kind of strike you right away, maybe give it a couple years and try again. Because
Maybe read the book. Like I
yeah,
would
read the book
recommend,
too.
even if you're not a book reading person, read the book. It's one of the better books I've read.
It's fairly short. Like it's not hard to read. It's more
No,
like a pulp novel. Like
yes.
it's you could read it pretty. You don't have to be like an intellectual to understand it. It's not like War and Peace, where it's hard to get through.
It's not dense, but it is smart.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be an intellectual to get it, but you will enjoy it because it has some very smart plot elements and has some very fun plot twists. But it's not going to treat you like you're an idiot, but you're also not going to feel like you're reading a dumb book.
So yeah, you give it a 10?
I give it a 10 just because of the nostalgia
Yeah. I'll
factor.
give it a 7.5.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm going to have to start an Excel sheet of all our ratings and stuff.
Yeah, we got it. All right, everyone. We will see you next time.
Have a good one.